What's going on, everybody? My name is Shamar and welcome to the first ever video of Shamar Reacts. On today's I'm reacting to something that I am actually been waiting for this episode to drop for a good minute. I am reacting to DefunctTV's The History of Adventures in Wonderland. Now, if you don't know, Adventures in Wonderland was a very classic 90s show that happened, I want to say, in 1993 to 1995 or 6, about Alice in Wonderland. But there's a little twist to it. It was like one of my top shows when I was a kid. I always watched it. I collect all the VHS tapes of it and everything. So I'm excited to finally watch the history of it. So let's jump right into it.
In 1923, 22-year-old Walt Disney's Laugh-O-Gram Studios was on the brink of bankruptcy. But before closing for good, Walt and Company planned to produce one final short. Alice's Wonderland was a live-action animation hybrid that would be loosely inspired by Lewis Carroll's Alice's Adventures in Wonderland. The short would tell the story of a young girl who gets transported into a land of fantasy, but Walt's short would skip direct references to characters from the book, other than the titular Alice. Disney would use the short as a proof of concept for a series that would become known as the Alice Comedies, which would be a hit for Walt. He would produce and direct 56 Alice shorts between 1924 and 1927. Nearly 25 years later, in 1951, the much larger Walt Disney Productions would revisit Carroll's material with the animated feature film Alice in Wonderland. With the success of the film, Carroll's characters were absorbed into the Disney family, and they would be incorporated into numerous books, records, toys, theme parks, and more. In nearly 70 years after the original Alice short, the Walt Disney Company would have an interest in revisiting Wonderland again, this time embarking on one of the most ambitious adaptations of the material yet.
That's a nice way to introduce it. Adventures in Wonderland.
DefunctTV is sponsored by Topps Disney Collect, a virtual card trading game for iOS and Android. Topps Disney Collect brings all the fun of card collecting and trading to the comfort of your home, with beautiful and some rare designs from your favorite Disney movies, including, of course, the quirky residents of Wonderland and the new set celebrating the 10th anniversary of Tim Burton's adaptation. Download the free Topps Disney app on iOS or Android today with the link in the description. By the early 1990s, the Walt Disney Company's premium children's network, the Disney Channel, had long been deemed a success. With over 5 million subscribers and a healthy lineup of original programming, the venture was paying off. Peggy J. Christensen, a vice president of the Disney Channel since its launch in 1983, had played a major role in this success, and she was always looking for ways to bring new and interesting content to the network. In 1991, Christensen was hoping to create a show for the channel that would teach language skills to children between the ages of 3 and 8. To do so, she reached out to producer Andy Copley of Betty Productions, and the pair started developing a series. Copley began her television career as a production assistant on Sid and Marty Krofft's Wonderbug, and she had built a reputation for herself throughout the 80s as a producer of quality children's programming, with producing credits on Shelley Duvall's Fairy Tale Theater, Pee-wee's Playhouse, and the Toyline-inspired TV movie.
Now that's a good show too.
Andy had the experience to
bring my good reaction on that one too.
To life. With a clear purpose and talented producer on board, the next step was doing what the Disney Channel did best, leveraging classic Disney properties in creative ways. In the 1980s, the Disney Channel had found success with adaptations of their classic characters from Winnie the Pooh with Welcome to Pooh Corner, and Dumbo with Dumbo Circus. The two series had developed a successful format, one that could translate well to the language literacy show that Christensen and Copley were developing. Now they just needed to choose a property, and the fantasy world and colorful characters of Wonderland made adapting Alice an appealing choice. Christensen had loved the book Alice's Adventures in Wonderland by Lewis Carroll, and she had previously spent 6 years as a 5th and 6th grade teacher in the Los Angeles City school system. Christensen had seen the Alice characters resonate with children, and she thought that the book's clever use of language would translate well into a language enrichment show. Synonyms, antonyms, homonyms, idioms, and puns were all important parts of the wordplay in the original book, and they fit directly into the educational curriculum of the new show's target audience. While the series would be educational, Christensen and Copley both understood that it was imperative that the show be entertaining. Their target demographic was watching television content in a post-MTV world, where quick editing and surreal visuals had become the norm, and Copley and Christensen took advantage of this to keep the attention of their young viewers. Like Welcome to Pooh Corner and Dumbo Circus, a mix of live action, puppetry, music, and slapstick would be the backbone to the educational stories about problem-solving, identity, and friendship. They would also adapt the Alice source materials in a way that Disney had not since Walt's Alice comedies, by making it contemporary. Instead of taking place in the 1860s, the new series would take place in the hip, modern world of the 1990s, and Alice was a stylish girl with a mirror to a magical land. She would play with updated takes on Carol's most memorable characters. The show would also avoid mimicking the look of the animated film, so original costumes and sets were designed. Copley stated, quote, "If we faithfully would have brought it from Lewis Carroll, it would have been really stylized and a lot darker. Who wants to watch that?" Copley would build out the production team with trusted writers, directors, and artists from her past work. Since Christensen had a writer's background and a thorough understanding of the Disney standard, she would work with the writers directly to mold the scripts into the required educational and family-friendly criteria. Although episodes of the show were reviewed by educational consultants and a curriculum was followed, Christensen believed, quote, "It doesn't matter what you teach if the children aren't listening." The approach to the material was to integrate education into the story, so that it didn't have to stop to have a lesson. With the show coming together, the production began to look for talented actors to fill the roles. The Red Queen, White Rabbit, Mad Hatter, March Hare, Caterpillar, Tweedledee, Tweedledum, and Cheshire Cat would all be translated from the Lewis Carroll story, and larger-than-life acting was required to fill the costumes. As a kids' show, the series' primary competition would be animated, and Copley felt that the show would have the energy and pacing of animation, despite being live action. This also meant lots of broadly choreographed musical numbers, so the team looked to cast veteran theater actors for the parts. At the end of 1991, the entire production moved to Orlando, Florida. The show would find a home on 3 sound stages of the MGM Studios backlot in the newly opened Disney MGM Studios theme park. Production moved forward at a lightning pace, and by March 1992, the series had recorded 22 episodes of their 65-episode order. Later that same month, on March 23rd, the Disney Channel premiered Adventures in Wonderland with 2 episodes, aired back-to-back. Adventures in Wonderland would begin each episode at Alice's home in suburbia. In every program, Alice would express some kind of real-world problem to her cat Dinah.
"I'm supposed to write a story about an interesting thing. And look what I have so far. Nothing. Zip. Not a word."
Being a cat, Dinah wouldn't give much advice, and Alice would contemplate how to deal with each problem. Eventually, Alice would decide that it was best to visit Wonderland by going through her looking glass mirror and triggering the show's theme song.
Hold on to your seat, let's go for a ride. Let me over here on the other side.
The residents of Wonderland would usually be
Use
experiencing
your
problems similar to Alice's,
imagination
and
and
they
you
would offer advice or consolation
understand.
to one another. In the series, Wonderland was ruled by the Red Queen. Although she could be strict and selfish, her relationship with Alice and her subjects would be much less cruel than other adaptations. The Queen would incorporate characteristics of both the Queen of Hearts from the original Alice book and the Red Queen from the second Alice novel, Through the Looking Glass. She would be infatuated with hearts and the color red, and her dress would reflect her taste. The character was portrayed by Broadway legend Armelia McQueen, who had been an original cast member of the Tony Award-winning Ain't Misbehavin'.
Oh,
McQueen
wow.
would have the opportunity to showcase her incredible singing and dancing talents on the show.
She'll give you good, but I'll give you better. I can turn back. She serves a dinner, but I serve a feast. I can turn back.
The Red Queen's primary companion would be the White Rabbit, who served as her personal attendant and servant. The White Rabbit was intelligent, if not a bit pretentious.
Not an unintelligent ox, Your Majesty. An oxymoron.
He would often be the messenger for the Red Queen, relaying her commands to the various occupants of Wonderland. The White Rabbit would be performed by Patrick Richwood, a theater actor who also had success in film and television, with roles in Pretty Woman, Night Court, and Frankenstein
Oh, wow.
in her college years. Transforming into the White Rabbit for every episode would take up to 3 hours of makeup each morning. The costume consisted of
Jesus.
white spandex, a muscle suit with a large rabbit belly, a headpiece with ears, fake teeth, eyebrows, painted prosthetics, whiskers of stripped feather bones, 11 pieces of white yak hair glued on by spirit gum, a fursuit to go over the muscle suit, a vest to go over the fursuit, a bow tie, and rollerblades. Yes, rollerblades. The contemporary White Rabbit would wear rollerblades for nearly every scene he appeared. Although Richwood had no rollerblading experience when he accepted the part, he quickly mastered the skill after little training and daily scene work. Inevitably, the combination of rollerblades and extensive costuming would lead to some collisions, and many crashes would end up on the series blooper reel.
That's another way of putting it. Yes.
Not only would the White Rabbit rollerblade to get around, but the inline skating would be incorporated into the dance choreography as well. During one particularly ambitious jitterbug sequence, Richwood fainted due to the hot suit. Eventually, the suit was improved and lined with a tubular cooling system. Between takes, Richwood would cool off by plugging into the nearest electrical outlet to pump ice-cold water through the suit. Richwood would also have the opportunity to play other characters on the show. Unfortunately for him, it would still require him to wear the elaborate rabbit costume. These roles included White Rabbit's unnamed, identical, yet Irish accented cousin.
Ah, you must be the queen. Why did you change your clothes? And where's my lemonade? I change my clothes every day. And as for your lemonade, it's probably in your refrigerator.
His movie star brother, Rabbit De Niro, and Techno Bunny, a bulky robot built to assist the Queen while the White Rabbit was away on vacation. Techno Bunny also wore rollerblades. Although the Red Queen and White Rabbit would venture through Wonderland, the majority of scenes between the two would take place at the Queen's palace in its attached chessboard courtyard. The sets for the series were elaborate, using forced perspective and exaggerated shapes. The sets were built by Jimmy Cuomo, who had previously worked on Pee-wee's Playhouse. Kellyanne Patter was the art director who would design all the temporary sets for the show, and also did the set decoration.
A lot of good history.
Designs. Another location regularly visited on the show was the home of the Mad Hatter, a two-story hat-shaped house with a permanent tea party set up in the front yard. The character of the Mad Hatter and his companion, the March Hare, would host regular tea parties and entertain visitors at a long table filled with teapots and tableware. The Hatter would be considered by many to be the strangest of the Wonderland residents.
We're doing the mannequin, yeah, the mannequin, doing the mannequin right, doing the mannequin, oh, the mannequin, doing the mannequin right.
He would wear a purple zoot suit and a variety of hats throughout the show. Most frequently, a gray top hat with a large 10-shilling, 6-pence price tag protruding from under its band. The March Hare was the closest friend of the Mad Hatter. The March Hare would wear brightly colored, patterned suits and a pair of glasses. He would give off an air of intelligence, even though many times his commentary and perspective were as equally strange as the Mad Hatter's.
Actually, you might say we're like two carrots in a bunch. I really don't like these.
The Mad Hatter and the March Hare would be played by John Robert Hoffman and Reese Holland, respectively. Both would come from theater backgrounds, with Wonderland being their first television role. Another Wonderland pairing would be Tweedledum, performed by Robert Barry Fleming, and Tweedledee, performed by Harry Waters Jr. The brother characters would be the most different from the original Alice books, with their trademark rhymes replaced with rapping.
This is a beaver, as you can see. If you spell the word right, it's still not quite home free. Because it's also a bowl, and to be on a roll, stripes and spares must be the goal.
The two would always wear matching outfits, and their appearance would be heavily inspired by 90s era rapper MC Hammer. They would wear parachute pants, gold chains, and backwards hats. Like the other cast members, both Fleming and Waters Jr. would have theater experience. Waters was also recognizable as Marvin Berry in the Back to the Future films. In another corner of Wonderland, the character of the Caterpillar resided in the Mushroom Forest. The Caterpillar was the largest character in Wonderland, with an enormous green body and 6 functioning arms. Each episode, characters of Wonderland would visit Caterpillar, and he would read them a story related to the problem at hand.
Once, there was a private detective bloodhound named Humphrey Bogart. He had the world's best sense of smell.
The stories would be represented in the show through claymation. The elaborate Caterpillar costume would hold 3 people. The bottom 2 sets of arms would be performed by puppeteers watching the performance through small Walkman televisions, and the upper body, including face and voice, would be performed by successful character actor Leslie Mann. Production was designed so that the Caterpillar would only shoot for 2 days a week, but Mann would occasionally perform other characters appearing on the show.
Is it just me, or does that talk show host look like somebody we know?
The smallest character on the show would be the Dormouse, who lived in a teapot on the Mad Hatter's table. In each 27-minute episode, the character would pop out of his teapot home and say a mocking line or two before receding back from where he came.
How about a dormouse?
How about some privacy?
The small character was controlled by puppeteer John Lovelady, who had been a performer on Sesame Street and the premiere season of The Muppet Show. Another character translated from the original Alice novel into puppet form was the Cheshire Cat. The cat was the most antagonistic of the characters on the show, but still got along with and offered advice to others. The cat was sarcastic and mischievous, and could disappear or teleport at will.
Gee, what a bunch of sour puzzles.
The complex puppet required 4 puppeteers, with the voice actor, Richard Kuhlman, puppeteering them out. As the Cheshire puppet performances were recorded on separate days than the main cast, Kuhlman would also perform line readings just off camera during primary taping so that other cast members would have something to interact with. All of the characters in Wonderland got along relatively well, but it was the character of kindly Alice who united them all. A peppy young daydreamer who would visit Wonderland whenever she encountered a problem in her suburban home, Alice was friendly and kind with everyone in Wonderland. Although she was the protagonist of the series, episodes would split storylines between the characters of Wonderland, and all would get the opportunity to take the lead depending on the topic at hand. In every episode, Alice would sing and dance with the various Wonderland residents, as well as ask for or provide advice when problems arose.
We're back to normal here in Wonderland again, and we're glad that you are back on speaking terms. We're so glad that you are back on speaking terms.
At the end of each episode, Alice would return home to relay a resolution for her problems to her cat Dinah, who definitely did not care. Alice also had family members, including a mother, brother, and sister, who would occasionally be heard at her home, but never seen on screen. Alice's modern 90s clothing would evolve throughout the series, but would always incorporate the color blue, traditional to the character. The 12-year-old Elizabeth Arnois was the perfect choice for the role. Arnois had been performing in TV and film since the age of 5, and was a talented actor, singer, and dancer. The production would be complex and incredibly challenging for all involved. The show would shoot 2 episodes a week in a non-chronological, film-like style based on the characters and sets and scenes. 2 episodes a week were shot, but 6 episodes per week would be actively in production. In later interviews, nearly all of the
That's
cast
a
and
lot
crew
of
members
information
would
I
recall the
did not
series
know
being the
about
most
this.
difficult work of their careers.
But
they
it's
also
always
recalled
good
that
to
it was
learn
some
some
of the
stuff,
most
like your
fun.
favorite show.
Each episode of Adventures in Wonderland would include 4 one-minute songs dispersed throughout the episode. The musical director for the series would be Mark Mothersbaugh, who had been a founder and frontman of the 80s rock band Devo, and had transitioned to children's television with Pee-wee's Playhouse and Rugrats. Adventures in Wonderland would be a hit for the Disney Channel, and the program would become the most watched morning program on the network within 6 months of its premiere. The show would even win Emmy Awards for writing, directing, makeup, and hairstyling from 1992 to 1996. Disney Channel president John F. Cook would expand the Wonderland schedule in response to the positive reception. An additional episode would air each weekday afternoon and weekday mornings as well. Also, once a month, the channel would air primetime episodes of the series dealing with social issues, such as the environment, drug abuse, and even race relations. Parents and children praised the show, and so did critics, for the most part. John Carmen of the San Francisco Chronicle was less than impressed, and he would begin his review by asking, quote, "Do small children hurl at the TV set? You know, toss their little cookies? Heave? Or in really bad cases, sell the Buick? I ask only because I've seen the Disney Channel's new tot rod series Adventures in Wonderland. Be still, my heaving stomach." The show's popularity would continue to grow through its production. The city of Los Angeles would invite the cast to be a part of its library-themed entry into the 1993 Rose Bowl Parade, and the characters would also appear at William Jefferson Clinton's Salute to Children inauguration celebration alongside Kermit the Frog and Mr. Rogers. The series would not only draw fans to the Disney Channel, but to Disney MGM Studios as well. The backlot at the theme park was designed with windowed walkways above the Wonderland sets. Park visitors taking the backlot studio tour would have the opportunity to watch the Wonderland production team in action. Actors from the series would also occasionally appear for meet and greet opportunities during the park's Disney Channel 10th anniversary celebration events. Elizabeth Arnois would also use the park as her personal playground during breaks, regularly visiting the Honey, I Shrunk the Kids playground multiple times a week. The show would shoot 40 episodes at MGM Studios before relocating to CBS Radford Studios in Los Angeles. The series would occupy the same soundstage in which Gilligan's Island was shot and was set right next to the hit show Roseanne. In the wake of its success, Disney would increase their show order from 65 episodes to an even 100. It was also determined that the show might benefit from additional characters and guest stars. Referenced but unseen in early episodes, the Carol character of the Duchess wouldn't appear in Wonderland until late in the series. Actress Terry Garr would join the cast of Adventures in Wonderland for 6 episodes as the Duchess. The character was antagonistic to the Red Queen, and the pair would routinely bicker and attempt to upstage one another.
Twinkle Toes, the whole point of concentration is to concentrate, to think about the game, to glue your mind to it, to empty your head of all other thoughts. It shouldn't be too difficult in your case.
Also joining the cast from the Alice novels would be the recurring character, the Walrus. Walrus would be played under heavy makeup by theater actor Ken Page, who had worked with Armelia McQueen on the original production of Ain't Misbehavin'. The character would be introduced in the episode I Am the Walrus, and while that title may seem innocent enough, this was the race relations episode. Walrus would originally be the victim of the Wonderland gang's racist views against walruses.
Walruses lie and they smell really rank. That they're dumb and they're cruel. They belong in a fish tank.
We don't want any walrus here in Wonderland. We heard all about them and we clearly understand, so
Beware the walrus.
When Alice meets Walrus and discovers that he is not a rude, smelly liar, as the others believe, she introduces him to the Queen, who throws a party in his honor. Only after being excluded from the party, the Wonderland residents realize the error of their ways and collectively decide to stop being racist.
Can you ever forgive us, Mr. Walrus?
Well, of course. No hard feelings. And I don't know if you've ever heard this about walruses, but we never hold a grudge.
that's okay. Now that we're friends, we'll hold it for you.
Walrus would return for 5 more episodes, often accompanied by his invisible friend, Pinniped.
Oh, come, Pinniped.
The producers would bring a slew of other guest stars to the show, exploiting the program's popularity with celebrities' children. The guests would frequently play some variation of their own persona. Guest stars included Pat Sajak, Ed McMahon, Judge Reinhold, and Marley Matlin. Matlin would play the character of April Hare, the March Hare's hearing-impaired cousin who teaches sign language to the Wonderland crew.
Tell me why you're a conversation. It's a quiet way to convey information. You seem strange, maybe even absurd. Without saying a word, you can always be heard.
One star-studded episode entitled Pie Noon included appearances by both Willie Nelson and Gilbert Gottfried. Willie would fill the role of a wandering minstrel who would sing the ballad of Pie Noon.
The ballad of Pie Noon is what I'm here to croon. Trouble's on its way and it's gonna be here soon. When the sun is in the sky straight overhead about yay high, that'll be the time. That'll be the time when Hare's luck just might run dry.
Gottfried would play the cowboy character Micah McNasty, who bullied March Hare in high school by routinely pieing him. At the end of the episode, March Hare has the opportunity to enact pie revenge, but refrains, because doing so would make him just as much of a bully.
I'm too honorable and noble to do that. Well, I'm not.
Instead, the other residents of Wonderland attack McNasty with pies.
And neither are we.
Yeah, bullying. One special primetime episode of the series would be the Christmas-themed Christmas in Wonderland. The episode would differ from normal episodes in a few ways. For one, it was one of the few Wonderland episodes to take place at night. Secondly, the theme song for the show would be revamped to match the Christmas spirit of the episode.
Seasons changing once a year. Holiday greetings now I hear.
Although 100 episodes of the show were filmed, one episode never aired and is believed to be locked in the Disney vault forever. The episode White Rabbits Can't Jump would guest star football icon and alleged murderer O.J. Simpson as the personal hero of the White Rabbit. The episode would be filmed before the tragic killings of Nicole Brown Simpson and Ron Goldman, and shelved before making it to air. Oddly enough, this episode would be one of only 2 episodes adapted from the show into book form. The book was printed and released before the tragedy and gives a detailed account of what occurred in the episode. Suddenly, the poster came to life. "Wow, O.J. Simpson, it's really you!" cried the White Rabbit. "Right here in my room." "Actually, I'm not really here," O.J. said. "I'm just in your imagination. Why don't you tell me what the problem is anyway? Maybe I can help." Imaginary O.J. would then encourage White Rabbit to take part in a special Wonderland leap year game, even though the White Rabbit considered himself to be a terrible jumper. Eventually, Rabbit would join the team and participate, but the main event would end in a tie. Rabbit would be a competitor in the final event, which his team would lose due to his terrible jumping. His team would score second place, out of 2. "I always liked getting trophies," O.J. remembered, even for second place. The White Rabbit was having none of it, preferring to sulk about his embarrassing team-disappointing performance, until he realized that the Queen had hired the real O.J. Simpson to present the trophies. "How can you be here next to me and up there, too? I can't, said OJ, who was still standing next to the White Rabbit. But then I'm not real, remember? I'm just part of your imagination. The real OJ Simpson is standing right over there. The real OJ then gave trophies to everyone, and all were happy. The end. Although the 100-episode series would wrap in about a year and a half, the series continued to air on Disney Channel until January 1998, when the channel made the transition from a premium service to cable, which resulted in most of its 27-minute programming being discontinued. During its run, the series would see a trio of hour-long VHS compilations released by Disney. Currently, no authorized streaming or DVD versions of the show are available. Fans of the show have uploaded most of the episodes to YouTube, but 24 of the episodes are considered lost media, 25 including the OJ episode. For 100 episodes, Adventures in Wonderland told simple stories of friendship and fantasy, while also teaching language skills. The show would turn a 90s lens on Lewis Carroll's classic stories, and while Disney would eventually revisit Wonderland again, many fans still prefer the singing, dancing, humor, and madcap fun of the Disney Channel series.
Oh yeah.
This episode of DefunctTV is sponsored by Topps Disney Collect.
Alright, so I just finished watching the Adventures in Wonderland history, and just say it's wow. All I can say is wow. I learned a lot about my favorite show of all time, and come on Disney Plus, please bring that show back. We need it back on Disney Plus. Just need to relive my childhood just one more time, please. But anyway, this is the first episode of Shamar Reacts. I have another episode coming out in 2 days on Tuesday, and I can't wait for y'all to see that. So just stay tuned for that, and I will see you guys then.